Hey, Iyanna.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. Thank you for being willing to participate in this Stories Today for a Better Tomorrow project.
You're welcome.
So, tell me a little bit about your upbringing, your childhood, where you were born, when you were born.
Okay. I was born in Wilmington, North Carolina, in 1996. I am the youngest of four girls. Um, hmm, I don't know about my upbringing. We're a relatively tight knit family. A lot of my grandparents are still alive. My great grandfather is actually alive, and he just turned 95 this year in June.
That's
Um,
awesome.
yeah, so it's pretty intergenerational. Like we have a lot of older adults in my family that are still here.
So, I'll say that you're one of our teaching artists and ask you if having a tight knit family, a close relationship with your grandparents and great granddad, if that impacted your decision to teach art classes with older adults.
Actually, it has. Um, just being that I grew up around like my great grandfather and his siblings, he's one of the last ones that's left right now. But growing up, they were around, so it's easier for me to be around older adults and have conversations with them and interact with them sometimes. So it was one of the reasons why I wanted to teach here.
And I can't remember, I apologize. Are you finished with school? Are you still a student?
I graduated in 2018 from the University of North Carolina, Greensboro,
And
with a hmm?
your major?
uh, my degree is a BA in sociology and a minor in African diaspora studies. So
Very cool. So, what do you think about how are you being affected by COVID-19 and the social unrest that's happening now? And if so, how is that impacting you?
um, so about like a month ago, I actually lost a family member, which was unrelated to COVID. Actually, he's about my age, and the impact that had on me is so for us when we have funerals and such, we like to touch hands in my family or touch the body, and you can't do that because of COVID right now, or even put things in the casket. Like that's just what we do for my family and my culture. So that was a bit difficult for me because you couldn't like really touch anybody or so that's one of the big impacts COVID has had on me, I think. And also, my partner works in a hospital right now. She's actually a nurse. So just being that they haven't gotten like everything they need, sometimes that worries me. Like they might not be fully protected as they should be. But
Does she talk with you a lot about, I mean, is she concerned too? Do y'all talk about that a lot?
um, she has concern, but I don't think she wants to worry not to stress me out, which stresses me out because I don't want her to worry. So it's just a big stressful situation. I'm confident that she knows what she's doing when she goes to work and she's not bringing anything back home, you know. So we just take every day one day at a time. Yeah. So.
Yeah. What about with the protests? Have you or your partner been involved in the protests at all? Or are you staying away because of COVID or?
So if had not been for COVID, I would probably be out there more. For me personally, I actually have asthma, so between like COVID and they've been like throwing tear gas and stuff like that. I don't want to put myself in that position, you know. But previously, like during school and college, I would go to many protests and do other things. But right now, I've just been not been able to do that this time around. pretty much because of COVID. But yeah.
I understand. I feel the same way. I would really, really like to be out there too, but I have significant health issues that put me at greater risk. So it's, I'm torn because I want to do things, which is why we're doing this conversation, today is
Mhm.
to try to get the voices out there to help educate people if we can. I don't know if people I don't know how to change people's minds when they're racist because I don't understand it at all. Um, but have you experienced racism?
Yeah.
Are you willing
um,
to share anything about your experience or experiences?
I would probably talk all day, honestly. Sad to say. I can remember like being in elementary school and even like teachers saying little remarks, maybe, So as children, we wear beads on our hair sometimes. And I've had like teachers say, "Oh, just racist snide comments about my hair," and I've had friends at school, well, not friends or just classmates say, God left y'all in the oven too long, or like little different things that come as it. It's pretty racist, but it just be like little remarks that sometimes people just say. Like I haven't outwardly had anybody come to my face and say like a slur or anything, but it's still all forms of racism, you know.
Right, it's more of the subtle.
Is what for me personally, that's what I experience. Is a lot of the subtle remarks, you know.
And does that happen regularly? Is it worse today than it's been previously?
So growing up living in Wilmington, it was a little bit worse than now being in college and moving here in Greensboro. I haven't experienced it as much, and that could just be because I have more control over where I go and the people I put myself around. But as a child, it would be school. Most time, school, it would come out, being I was a little bit smarter sometimes than other people. So, or you're not like the others, or you're pretty for a black girl, like all those different little remarks. So,
Well, you are a beautiful woman, so be proud in that.
thank you.
You're a smart woman too. That's much more important too, I think.
Yeah, what for me it's just when people say things, I don't give it power. I feel like having a reaction could give them the power that they wanted from me in the first place. Like saying something would give them that power over me, or reacting, or fighting or anything. I try not to give them that power because I feel like that's what a racist or anybody that's prejudiced wants, is that reaction. Like, oh, she's gonna be an angry black girl, or she's gonna do these things, and no. So,
That's good. You're not giving them the satisfaction.
yeah.
Do you, you're 23, is that
Yes,
right? Okay. So did you vote when you turned 18?
I did.
Yeah. Do you plan to vote again in the upcoming presidential election?
I do. Sometimes I feel like that's all we have. Some people don't have money to donate to these protests, or can't get off work to go protest, or like us health issues, so many different things. And I really feel like voting is super important because it's kind of all we have
True.
to make a bigger change. Because I feel like personally, government has a lot to do with what's going on right now. If laws would have been changed or things were set in place, we wouldn't be where we are. And if the I don't want to be political, but I feel like it's a racist narrative that's being pushed on a lot of people. So if our leaders wouldn't pushing that narrative, it might be a little bit different. So hopefully voting will change that.
I hope so. Do you have any, I'm trying to think of how to ask the question. Um, I guess as far as people who are racist, are concerned, is there a message that you would like to give them, or do you believe that there's anything you or I could say to at least begin to plant a seed for change?
I think the power of an ally is very strong. Personally, I'm tired of having to help not the races or just like be the one that has to say this is wrong or we shouldn't be doing this. An ally or a friend should be stepping up and saying, hey, that's not right, or don't do that. That's racist or that's prejudice. So yeah, right now I don't have anything to say. I just feel like people need to educate themselves. I see, I don't really use social media like that, but when I see a lot of things from social media, it looks like people are not using things out of books and real facts. Like it's just made up. Everything looks to be made up. So, say if people educate themselves, I think it'll be a big help on everybody's part. Honestly.
I agree with you completely. I think it's hard to figure out how to educate people who hold such hateful views. Uh, you know, I think more conversations are needed. I think more opportunities for those people who hold such deep racist beliefs. I think providing opportunities for them to get to know people of color, to see that we're all human beings, we're all, the same, we all want the same things out of life. Maybe that would be a start, but I don't know how open people who are, racist are to doing that. And I honestly don't know people of color who would be willing to put themselves into that position either.
Yeah. I think this is a great start. So hopefully this helps.
Yeah, we need a lot more conversation for sure, a lot more interaction. Um, if you could give advice to younger people of color, what would you tell them?
Um, I would tell them to keep going. Um, I do actually support protests going on, the safe and peaceful ones, or but honestly, if people feel like they need to, how do I want to word this? If people feel like they need to burn things down and stuff to get attention, and for people to hear them, I understand that completely because my grandmother was in the first integrated schools that I went to in Wilmington. So my middle school was her first integrated school. She would tell me how she would have to fight and people would spit at her and different things. And this year I'm 23 and it's kind of feeling like the same, like it's going back a little bit. So yeah, I would just say keep pushing forward, and if I don't know, you feel like that's what you have to do to be heard and seen, like yeah, I don't know, just keep going, I guess would be my advice. Things don't change if people aren't doing anything. So yeah, just keep going.
Right, it won't change unless people take action to make it change.
Yeah.
So, have you heard other stories from your parents or grandparents, or have they given you advice as a young Black person in America?
Um, my my grandmother she used to like be out there like protesting and doing the same things right now. I haven't actually spoken with her too much about it just because like I said, I lost a family member like a month ago. It's COVID. She actually has like diabetes and other things, so she can't really leave the house. She lives in Atlanta, so she can't really leave the house. So it's not that I don't want to like discuss it. It's just I wouldn't want to. It's just a lot of different things. I don't want to put that on her. You know.
I understand. Yeah, there's a lot of emotion that I think I, as a white person, can't begin to understand, and I completely acknowledge that. Being a white person and seeing what's being done is horrifying, and I can't even begin to imagine what it's like for people of color who've lived this year after year after year. Now I'm tearing up.
Yeah.
Sorry. Um, I don't know. So, so I understand you not wanting to put anything on your grandmother. She's probably experienced so much herself, and
Yeah.
now it seems like horrible things are happening all over again, or never stopped. I guess they're just really coming to light again in a global way.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that you would like to share? Any message you want to give, or feelings, or anything at all that you'd like to share?
Um, I think it's important to talk about Black women that are also being killed at the same rate, if not more, by police brutality or just anybody. You know, it happens very often. A lot of people like say her name movement. People don't discuss Black women, you know, being murdered as well. So just want to put that out there. That is very important too. I don't want to separate the two. They're both, everything's all the same, but just to put
Well,
that.
it is in many ways, and yet it's not in many ways, because we know that our society, probably many societies, but certainly ours, is a patriarchal society.
Yes.
Men have the power typically. So there are differences, I would think.
Yeah. Because you understand as a woman, you know, what happens, what can happen. And
Yeah.
people already don't listen, you know, to people who aren't people of color. So, yeah.
Yeah, I kind of want to delve into that a little bit more. There is a tremendous amount of attention put on young Black men and the unfairness, the inequality. Do you, what would you say, if there are differences, what would you say they are for young Black women?
I would say, like you said, that they're men and we're women, which is like men rule the world, honestly, or at least America. So, um, being that, so we can say it happens, like we get assaulted more because we're women, or you know, rape and all these things. And I feel like sometimes as men are men, things get swept under the rug. So, for instance, I feel like, I mean, this is with any race. Uh, Men should just call out their other male friends if you feel like they're doing something wrong, or you know, like that's inappropriate. You know, I feel like men need to be accountable for themselves, which is also something that America and everyone else is working on. Even now, while people have been um, peaceful protests and everything, Black women have been dying and have been assaulted and, you know, murdered, and it's like during all of this, really. So it's still like we're being put on the back burner, because I feel as though some people feel like, you know, it doesn't matter because she's brown, you know, and that's
Yeah.
why people feel like they can do things like, oh, it was a brown girl, or you know, a person of color, they're not going to matter as much, or it's not going to go to the news. It's just another person. So I just wanted to make that a point, like say her name and all of that is important.
No, I agree. When Trayvon Martin was killed and there were protests, and then the Me Too movement came out, and I did this work of art that my oldest daughter has now. I gave to her, but it's like the hierarchy in our culture. So the hierarchy that I drew was white men at the top, and then Black men, and then white women, and then Black women.
Mm-hmm.
And in some ways, the Black men and the white women, that can be switched
Yes.
depending on what the issues are, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it could offend people, but from my perspective and what I was thinking through about power, decision making, and really being treated as though you're not as smart. I've gotten that from men of all races, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I have rarely ever gotten that from another woman of any race. So,
Yeah, I completely agree. In college, we discussed that, and it was pretty much the same. It was white men, white women, black women. And in our class, we took a little bit further and said, straight or queer, like where do you fit in those different realms? And I do agree for certain things it may switch, like you said, for Me Too movement, it might have switched or people are focusing on what they want to focus on.
mm-hmm.
But I think everybody's just, I don't know, some people are super biased in some things versus others. And I completely think that has to do with gender sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you comfortable talking at all about LGBTQIA issues and how it relates in here, or no?
Sure.
Okay. Um, because we are talking about discrimination, and my understanding is in the African American community, the discrimination against LGBTQIA people is a bit harsher. But have you had that experience? Do you think that's true or no?
From my personal experience, I I wouldn't say I agree. Um, for example, in college, at one protest I went to, I can't remember what it was for. I'd be at if it was for like Say Her Name, or we had one for like trans women who were being like murdered. Like it was just a bunch. But I do remember one specifically where someone said, you can't be black and be a part of both movements. So you can't be a part of the LGBT movement and the like Black Lives Matter. So it was just somebody's bias. I didn't, people say anything, but I have heard that numerous times, like on social media, people say that, or that you can't do both when, like, Marsha P. Johnson was brown and queer and was doing things, Stonewall, different things. The man that was behind Martin Luther King, I can't think of his name, he was gay. So it's just a lot of people don't understand queer people are always there. They're just in the background, but they're part of the movement. Everybody is together. And I feel like when we separate each other is when we mess up and we're not going forward. So separating queer people from the Black Lives Matter, it's not helping anybody. Yeah, just separating is just not helpful at all, I don't think. But I have experience in the I'm not just gonna say African American community. I'm gonna say people of color, different people of color. Yeah, I feel like sometimes it's more accepted if you're not a person of color, but that's just my experience.
So I recently had someone say to me um, that they thought being gay was a choice. And I've got to go back and have a conversation with this person because it wasn't a good time to do it at that moment. I disagreed with him, and I
Mm-hmm.
stated that I didn't agree with that, and that, it's not a choice. There are a lot of things I could have said, but basically I just said, I don't agree with you. And I'm pretty sure everyone I know in the LGBT community doesn't agree with you. But how would you respond to that?
I think people think it's a choice because sometimes people have to hide it or don't express it, maybe. So they're like, oh, or they just chose today that, they like women or whatever. It's like, you don't know what somebody has been battling or going through. And people don't always, tell people that they're queer for that exact reason. Like, or I hear sometimes it's just a phase, or I've had family members tell other family members it's just a phase. And, why would you think that? So.
Well, I wish I had thought in the moment, and this is what I'm going to say when I talk with him again, is, well, when did you choose to like women?
Oh yeah, I do think me and you discussed that I haven't, formally come out to my parents, but um, I don't personally believe in coming out because I feel like I wouldn't have had to tell my mother if I like men. Hey mom, I'm interested in
One
men.
second. Can you set it down for me, sweetie? And then come give me a hug and say hey to my friend Iyanna.
Afternoon.
Hi, how are you?
Good.
This is my little boy Odysseus.
Hi.
Thanks, sweetie. Bye.
All right. See ya.
Brought me lunch.
Sweet.
Yeah. So I'm sorry. You were saying I got completely sidetracked because food came in.
So I think the other day me and you were talking and you had said, how was it coming out to my mom, or like how did I tell my parents? And I said for me I haven't really outwardly said, I'm interested in women, or I date women. I don't like to put myself in a box, but I haven't told her specifically, I'm dating someone or I'm dating a woman, because she interacts with us. She's in our everyday life, so I haven't feel like she knows. But if it would have been a man, I wouldn't have had to say anything. Like, hey mom, I like men. I wouldn't have
Right.
to say anything. So I don't feel like I need to say, hey, I'm dating these women, or I've dated these women before. I don't think
No, I think
that's
that's a
just
good
for me.
approach. That totally makes sense. And when you're ready to, when you're in a relationship now, when you're ready to move to the next level or whatever, you treat it exactly like you would if you were in a relationship with men. I think men, however many people you're in a relationship with, your choice. I don't judge.
Yeah, I agree. Just to normalize it, I feel Iyanna's dating this person. Okay, my siblings have normalized it already, so it's just
I find it odd that people are saying that you can't, the LGBT issues, or if you are, you know, in that box, that you can't also participate in the Black Lives Matter movement. That is another sort of foreign concept that I can't comprehend.
yeah. So from my understanding, I guess they're saying, you have to put your focus in one thing, when I think if everyone would work together, so the same brown people, the same people of color show up for LGBT movement, if everybody, because I know queer people are out there during Black Lives Matter, I'm certain, I know, but not a lot of times, brown people or people of color don't show up for LGBT lives or queer lives, trans lives, people don't show up.
It's very odd. It's a weird world we live in.
Yeah. Um, Actually, a little bit to my life. Recently, I'm not super close with my biological dad. So my other dad raised me, and recently I found out that this whole time I had an uncle, and they would say, your uncle is sick, or he's in a wheelchair. This was probably like 5 years ago, but he's in a wheelchair and he lives in DC. So I, at the time, was probably in high school and I didn't want to, I didn't have time, maybe, sorry, to befriend them. But as I got older, I found out that they did not identify as my uncle, that they had actually been trans, and that they had a name. And that the reason they were in the wheelchair was not because that they were sick, but because people had put them in the wheelchair for being themselves. So for me, they passed away, I want to say my freshman year in college. So for me, it was like, because from certain family members, I would hear, they're sick, or your uncle lives in this place, and it's like that's not the case at all. I have an aunt that lives in DC who wants to. So sometimes I feel bad about that, but
Did you ever get to meet her? Or
I did not,
right.
unfortunately. Yeah.
Sorry. I guess it's hard for people who've known a person their whole lives as a certain gender. I guess it's hard for them to view them as anything other than what they've always known them as. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't, but I feel like sometimes it's easier for people to see like a person in drag or something like they'll call them by she when half the time people in drag still identify as men. So I don't know. I think we just need to have like a bunch of different discussions, like you said, and maybe we can figure it out.
Yeah.
But I do think a lot of people are progressing. At least over the past 4 years, I've seen a big change in some, and I've seen some people stay and go back further. You know, maybe so. We'll see.
Yeah, it seems like the divide is getting larger to me. And my oldest daughter's partner is trans.
Hmm.
And just this weekend, my daughter informed me that she's changed pronouns, so she's she now.
Hmm.
I'm like, congratulations, that's great. So I know that a lot of people are progressing, and that's a great thing. I hope that there are people who speak out, and when they hear anything or see anything that's discriminatory, that they speak up, because I think that is one of the biggest ways things can start to change, is everyone has to seek out those teaching moments, instead of, I say this, I don't know if I'll be able to do it, but instead of getting angry and walking away, taking a breath and looking at it as, okay, this person just doesn't know, like they haven't been educated. I can at least take the step to try to explain something to them that they clearly don't understand. And that's, they'll either accept it or they won't.
Yeah, I think it's important, like you said, speaking up, because sometimes silence means that you agree with things. So I think, like you said, if you speak up and say, "Hey, that's not," like you said, you had a friend that said something, like talking to them later, even though you didn't have it right there in the moment, just having that conversation is important. Because maybe they might not know that that seems super biased or sounds like wrong or it's wrong, but it's like, hey, don't say that. It's not right.
Yeah.
And also, not just tell them don't say it, but tell them why you shouldn't say it.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think is helping people understand. We don't want to just shame people.
Yeah, of course not.
We want to educate people. And I think it's hard when people are so set in this idea that they're right.
Yeah.
Well, is there anything else that you would like to share?
No, I think that's about it. um,
I have very much enjoyed our conversation. Thank you for opening up and sharing so much with me.
no problem.
I feel closer to you now.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, we will sign off and see each other shortly.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.